Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn, and it is past time to get this thing ready to start up. It is getting to be mid-October, and I normally would have this done by now, but I don't. So I have two objectives. One is to do sort of my annual cleaning of these primary air tubes. This one is worse than that one. And the other is related to that, which is to try to force more air through here. What I've noticed, these are also connected to the same plenum. I think this air short circuits because the blower is right behind here. It just comes out here with not as much coming out there. And I've noticed that on the near side, this burns hotter, it burns quicker. The back, if there's any leftover stuff, chunks of unburnt wood, is going to be back there. So I'm thinking, and I did try it with this one here, but I think I'm going to be a bit more aggressive with some of these others, just to block these off and hopefully force more of the air back there, maybe a hotter fire in the back, and avoid this buildup that I have to deal with every year. But the first thing I need to do is to clean this up. So there is a charge tube, which is I think it's like a 2-inch square tube that the secondary air goes through and blows down. So I'm going to take that up and then just push all this ash down into the reaction chamber, which is down here for now. And when I'm ready to start the boiler up, then I'll put this back in here. But it just makes it a lot easier to clean in here and to be in there while I'm cleaning with that empty. Somewhere underneath here is a nut. So in order to get these side ones off, this actually has to come off first. Why I didn't start with that one, I don't know. Too anxious to get to that cruddy corner, I guess. These normally don't come out that hard, but it is difficult to sort of get a grasp that everything is sort of flush. So you can see where I had plugged one before, so I got to figure out exactly what I'm going to do here. These are the holes that I just took the acorn nuts off from, so these are the actual ventilation holes. The air comes in here. I welded this on because I was having an issue left to right. So I thought that sort of ends up in the middle of that tube there, which is where the primary air comes in. So my thought there was just to make sure it's split sort of halfway, half this way to this side and half this way to that side. You can see all the crud build up here. I ran this for 2 years and not doing this, and I saw the impact of it. So I think for the beginning of my 3rd year I cleaned this out, and I've done it every year since. It is nice having this big firebox so I can fit into it. This is the 750, now they call it a 760. But if this was a 350 or maybe even 550, I don't think I'd be able to fit in here at least as easily. It really doesn't come out that hard. That corner was a little bit difficult to get out, so I used my little jackhammer. But this is the first year I've used that for this cleaning. But I'm going to be careful because I could probably pierce through this stainless steel wall pretty easily if I wasn't careful. Yeah, I'm sure the light for you is going on and off as I move in and out of the way of the light. Sorry about that. You can see how bad that corner is. A lot of this is light and fluffy, but it still blocks the air. The new designs, instead of using this little cutout here in the water jacket as the air plenum, it's just a space where they put either a tin or a stainless steel tube that has the holes along the edge of it. So I'm sure that's a better design, but the idea is exactly the same. So I'm not sure how well you saw it before, but hopefully this is a decent view. Hopefully this is a decent view of everything that's been cleaned out. That's as clean as I get it. There's a little bit left, but should be fine. Primary air, secondary air goes to the charge tube and goes down. I had a video last year, sort of late in the season. I ended up replacing this gasket that seals off the floor to separate the primary air chamber and the reaction chamber or secondary air chamber, and also this dual piece of refractory had all worn away after I think five seasons of use. This was all eroded away, huge gaps, a lot of material was falling down there. I put that in. That made a big difference in what sort of material I found in the chamber below. goes like that. So the air comes in here up from the other side and blows that way. So on this side, I block that one off, so there's only this one. So maybe what I'll do is just block that one off. And then maybe that one off. So let's do that. I'll block that one off, then each side will basically have one air hole, and then the rest of it has to go around the sides. And just like that, we're done. Just a couple tacks, that should be all it takes. This one I probably overdid it. So now on the front side, the only air outlets there are these two in the top corner. But let's put the side plenums back in, and then we'll put this one back in. Backing washer's going first. The back on my tippy toes. May have to get a hammer. Just a bit too much of a reach for me to get it from through the door. Oh, I'll just jump inside. Alright. So, these are just carriage bolts. They put a nut on there and they just use the square to fit in the slot, so it's pretty simple, but they do come loose, and if there was a pile of ash there, it would have been easily lost. I see this one is missing too. There it is. But at least it's a common part. I do have carriage bolts, not that short, but I could easily cut one if need be, and I think they're 5/16. It doesn't get all that hot up here in this chamber, which is why these acorn nuts and the hardware up here sort of stays intact, because most of the heat's down here. I'm guessing up here it might reach 400 or 500 degrees, really not that much more than a regular stove at the house. But it gets into 1500 degrees, sometimes hotter, just underneath there where the gases that are driven off from the wood are ignited with the extra air from this plenum. So this boiler, and I'm guessing almost all of them, have a feature where you can turn on the combustion air, basically as a means of helping to start the fire. So I'm able to turn that on, and I can feel coming out of all these hard to judge. Is more air coming out of here? It doesn't feel it. I mean, to the best of my ability, without any way to measure it, all feel is very similar as far as the velocity of air coming out. So I put back in the charge tube, which is this, and I shoveled most of the ashes that were down in the other chamber up here. So we are ready to start it up, and I'll do that in a few days. So we'll catch up again then. So it is a few days later, and I've put some kindling in here. These are basically splinters from the wood splitter, but they work really well for kindling. You can see the small pieces of wood that it generates. So I'll start this with a small torch. But first, we need to energize the panel. Breaker switch there. Power button. The thing start up. The 52 degrees, one of them is the water temperature. I think this is the reaction chamber, which is all equilibrium now at 51, 52 degrees. The primary air is what I mentioned. Turn this on. Provides air to all the inlets in the upper chamber here, but that's helpful to start it, because if I don't have that air, then I start using this and there's not enough air to keep the flame going and it goes out. So I start two piles because the fire really burns from this way and then down the center. So if you put a fire just in the center, it would still work fine, really. I gotta open up the bypass. It would work okay, I'm guessing, but the fire would immediately just go down when you you shut the bypass and you're in full operation. But until the fire goes, most of the smoke goes out that bypass. So while that gets going good, I'll just walk down here and get some small pieces from the top there, and I'll finish this off with some smaller pieces to get the fire going. So we'll let that go, we'll shut the door, leave the bypass open, get that wood nice and hot. We'll start to generate that hot coal base. Then we'll come in and add some more, let it burn a bit, and then we'll finally shut that and let the gasification begin. So we've gone from 51, 52 degrees to 79. Hopefully you can see that. And let's see what it looks like in here. Oh yeah, got a couple more pieces in. In fact, I think this is going well enough where we can probably shift it down to a lower level. Shutting hard. Looking for something that might be stuck here. Guess I'll just scrape it off with a putty knife just to be sure. I did look at the reaction chamber temperature bit, and it was 424, now it's 613, so it's plenty hot enough. We shut this, that forces all the hot gases to instead go into the bypass and directly up the chimney to down below. Little puffs of smoke there, or puffs of flame, I mean, but that'll increase here as the fire gets started. So we'll let this go for a bit and then come back. So we're up to 122. Actually, it's been maybe 45 minutes or so since I was out here last. 972 is the reaction chamber temperature. Normally it'll be over 1,000 degrees. Not sure why not. You can just see a little bit of flame coming down. But it's obviously a lot of hot air from the 972 degrees. Let's see what the fire looks like inside. Yeah, so I think I'll agitate that with the my poker and put a couple more sticks in. Probably enough. Now the fire looks quite a bit different with yeah, basically all the gas we generated by burning it like that with the door open for a bit. And that made the reaction chamber temperature go up to 1100, 1200 degrees. So this circulator goes to the house. It's a little bit bigger. This is sort of the standard Taco or Taco 007, which goes to my garage. So this basically acts as a single zone. This is the single zone for this unit, but it goes into the house and it feeds 6 different zones, including hot water. Make sure I got the right one, because I don't need the garage heat yet. I just plug that in as I need it, just for projects or whatever. So I can feel the vibration that is going. I did turn a couple valves in the house to make sure the pressurized water and the hot water system in the house goes through the heat exchanger and doesn't bypass it, which it does through the summertime. So that temperature will probably go down a little bit as all the cold water in the pipes comes back through here. The other thing is the water level, which started out probably down here because I don't know, is it 500 gallons or so in here? 350 gallons? You know, it was cooler, so it actually contracts a little bit. So basically a full. I will add a bit more water, I think, because I want to add a little bit of chemicals. I forget the range, but I do recall that I was on the low end of the pH range, so I think the range might have been 9.0 to 11 something, and I was basically right at 9.0. So I prefer to be a little bit into the range, a little bit on the alkaline or the basic side of the pH scale, rather than right at the low limit. But other than that little tidbit, I am ready to run for the winter time. I'm not sure what the outcome or the effect of blocking those holes in the primary air is. I probably will maybe have some indication in a couple days as I just monitor how the wood burns down. Does it burn evenly from front to back, or like it has been, burning more rapidly on the front end of the furnace instead of the back end where the bigger chunks of wood were. But as far as the creosote buildup, I won't know that for probably a couple months. But in one of the videos, it may not be necessarily a wood boiler video or a firewood video, but one of the future videos I have, I'll update how I think that's working. So for now, thanks for watching, and I appreciate it. stay tuned again for upcoming videos.
So it's been 12 hours since I put this load of wood in, but it looks promising. I mean, there is a bit more build up in the back of stuff, but that sort of comes and goes superficially. You can see it's white over here on that back edge, but in the very corner, those last two holes have some darker creosote around them. But as far as the burn of the wood, it looks good. In fact, it might even be a little bit more burned in the back than the front. So the jury's still out, but so far it looks promising.